So I guess I'm a little bit surprised once again because Nintendo had a pretty good indie showcase today, and usually these indie showcases don't get a lot of universal praise. There's some good games here or there, but this one had a lot of good stuff. It was very brisk in its pacing, and it ended off with a pretty good game that actually won Indie Game of the Year at the Indie Awards with the Blueprints. So not bad, or more like blueprints, not the blueprints, just blueprints. So good reveal there. There was actually some other pretty good reveals too. I want to run this down, essentially just going over some of the solid reveals that I thought, going over the stuff that I really liked, and then my game of the show. But all of this leads to something even bigger and better. And I get it. People have been whining, crying, and complaining for a general big Nintendo Direct, but I honestly feel, based off of what we've been getting recently, that it is coming between the partner showcase, now this event, and I think what follows is the general Direct. I don't think it's going to take all the way to summer or so, as some people are saying, but let's talk about this independent indie showcase that we got here today, because there was some pretty interesting stuff. I talked about Blueprints. That was cool to see that game. Also, Ratatan, that game looks pretty dope as well. It's another game that kind of just came out of nowhere for some people, but it looks like it could be pretty good. So this game, you can command over 100 unique characters in a rhythm roguelike action game that blends musical timing with side-scrolling combat. Play solo or in local and online multiplayer for up to 4 players. Ride the rhythm on Nintendo Switch 2 July 16th. So not a bad reveal at all for that game. Also, Rotwood, that was another game that I found to be pretty interesting looking. So essentially this one, you can choose your weapon, master diverse combat system, and refine your builds in this stylish side-scrolling co-op action brawler from K Entertainment, the studio behind Don't Starve. Battle corrupted beasts through dangerous forest areas and play solo or up to 3 friends locally or online. Progress comes from increasing your skill as much as your loot, with challenging boss fights that demand practice and proficiency. Rotwood hacks and slashes onto Nintendo Switch 2 as a console exclusive today. So not bad, having some drops that were just today and some interesting stuff. A lot of like local multiplayer and co-op stuff online. So I did like that about this event. Now let's get into some of the stuff that I really liked. Now one of those was Mini Shoot Adventures. This is an old school type of twin stick ship shooter or something like that. And in this game, you can fly into a frantic, handcrafted world with crisp twin stick shoot 'em up action in this modern twist on the classic 8-bit adventure formula. Fight your way from the shiny overworld to the deepest caves, improve your ship, and overcome dungeon bosses in intense, bullet-filled battles to rescue your friends. Explore lush caverns, ancient temples, and sunken cities where each environment is full of treasures, challenges, and secrets. Mini Shoot Adventures flies onto Nintendo Switch 2 and Nintendo Switch later today. So that's also another just drop out of nowhere. I like the old school style of it. It looks like it's really fun. Kind of reminds me of like a game that came out at the launch of the Switch 1, Graceful Explosion Machine. That game was kind of like a side-scrolling type of deal. This one's kind of like all-around twin sticks, so not bad, like isometric almost. So pretty cool there. Now another cool game that I thought could be pretty fun, even though I'm not big on rogue games or first-person shooters, is Dead Zone Rogue. This game actually had some pretty nice graphics compared to a lot of the other games, and you can step into the Forsaken space station in this fast-paced rogue-like shooter where every run is a heated fight for survival. Solo or with friends online, battle through shifting, procedurally generated corridors, overrun with biomechanical creatures, scavenge and combine experimental weaponry to grow stronger and evolve with every encounter, harness powerful gear, wield the elements in high-intensity combat, and push deeper into the station's heart to uncover secrets. Plus, use Joy-Con 2 mouse controls for smooth loot and shoot action, fight, revive, adapt, and carve your own path through the void. Can you survive long enough to conquer the Dead Zone? Dead Zone Rogue emerges from the void on the Nintendo Switch 2 system on March 17th. So I spoke with Josie. She came through to the stream. Josie, whoa, she's an awesome channel. Make sure you guys go subscribe to her. And she was like, hey, let's kind of link up and let's play this game on stream. So co-op and all that. So I thought, this would be kind of cool to play with friends. So it's definitely something that I'm going to play and it looks interesting. I'm not big on first-person shooter games, but I do think that this one looked pretty cool. So I'm interested in checking it out. Maybe it's really fun, and it's coming out very soon here. Now, another game that I really liked was Densha Attack, and this game is crazy. You're essentially a bus, grinding, fighting, and doing all sorts of stuff here, and I found Densha Attack to be insane. So you can travel across colorful dystopian Japan in this off-the-rails extreme action-adventure platformer game. Flip, trick, and grind a fast-paced train while racking up points and facing off against bizarre bosses. Take back the tracks with nothing but skill, speed, and style as you ollie and kickflip through volcanoes, meadows, and oceans. Plus, play the free demo on Nintendo Switch 2 later today. Densha Attack launches on Nintendo Switch 2 June 17th. Purchase the game when it launches to get an exclusive train skin. So this was the game that started out the show. And like I said, I've seen this game before on Twitter and all that. It just looked crazy. And the trailer that they showed off actually showed more variety within the game. All I saw before was essentially just them grinding on different stuff. I didn't see like the boss battles and different perspectives and some of the other stuff. So that was a pretty good trailer. And I think it sold a lot of people, especially with that demo as well. So that was a pretty cool game that they showed off there. And then another game that I really liked, before we get into the game of the show, which I'm going to talk about, but another game that I really liked was Moonlighter 2, The Endless Vault. Now, I liked Moonlighter 1. I'm just not as big of a rogue person. There's a lot of rogue games, so I will say that here, a lot of rogue stuff. But Moonlighter 2, from a graphical standpoint, compared to the first game, looks a lot better. It's kind of crusty on the Switch 1. Much smoother looking on the Nintendo Switch 2. So let's talk about this game. So live the double life as a fearless adventurer and a crafty merchant. Dive into vibrant dimensions brimming with shiny loot and pesky enemies. Each run becomes a tactical puzzle of how much loot you can carry back and how far you dare to explore. After each escapade, put your hard-earned treasure on sale, set your prices, grow your shop, entice returning customers, and make your mark among a ragtag community of castaways. Moonlighter 2, The Endless Vault, open shop on Nintendo Switch 2 this year. So don't know when that's coming, but it's coming sometime in 2026. And once again, one of the better looking rogue games out of a rogue heavy show here. But I thought that one was good, and we know that Moonlighter 1 is good, so this one is probably going to be just as good, if not better. And I do like the shop aspects of it. It does kind of break up just it being a rogue game, so I do like that. Now, there was an interesting, like, all dogs go to heaven game too, which was very fun to kind of see. So for those, you know, who are looking for maybe something like that, that's pretty cool. There were some other games too that were good. Just because I don't mention everything, there was definitely some good stuff. Check out the stream yourself or check out my reaction to it. It was only 15 minutes long and it was pretty packed. It was short but sweet. So let's get into the last thing here before I get into what's happening next for Nintendo when it comes to presentations and the Nintendo Direct. So the game of the show for the Indie World Showcase was Blighted. And the reason why Blighted to me was the game of the show is because, one, it looked really cool visually, artistically, kind of gave me like the Hades vibes, but not quite the same art style and everything, but that kind of view of the isometric, and I like that. But also the people that made it. It's Drinkbox. They made Guacamelee, one of the better 2D action adventure platformer type of games from the previous gens or so. So that game's great. So I really like what Drinkbox does. I think that they're a great developer, and this game Blighted looked really cool. Different vibe from Guacamelee, but looked like it was going to be a lot of fun. So I want to go over this game Blighted. I felt that this could be the best game. When it's all said and done, we're going through all the different games here. This might be the best one. So battle through a deadly psychedelic Western nightmare to reclaim the memories of your people in this exploration-driven action RPG from the creators of Guacamelee. And nobody saves the world. Sorcisto has consumed your village and infected the world with a deadly blight. As the lone survivor of his rampage, you must fight through surreal, hostile environments to defeat powerful bosses and recover the memories of your people before your own blight overtakes you. Play solo or with a friend via local or online multiplayer as you uncover the mysteries of this twisted world. Blight creeps onto Nintendo Switch 2 this fall, so that's also going to be another later game. A lot of the games were dated for either March or coming out in like June, but a couple were later. This one is going to be later, but I think it's going to be a good game. They're going to take some extra time to make sure everything is fine-tuned and plays great. So I like what I saw from Blighted. That was probably my game of the show, and I'm looking forward to checking it out when it does drop. Okay, so now that we got the partner showcase out of the way back in February, now that we got the Nintendo Indie World out of the way, what's next up is, of course, the Nintendo Direct, the actual big Nintendo Direct. And the reason why I feel that it's going to happen more sooner than later, there has been some people saying that it might be all the way till June. I don't know if it's going to be that long, just because Nintendo has a number of games that they announced last year that still need dates for this year. Now, could they just announce those on Twitter or have individual directs or big overview trailers for those games to reveal release dates and more information? Of course, they absolutely could do that, but I don't think that they're going to. We still need more information on Splatoon Raiders. We still need more information, release date for Yoshi and the Mysterious Book. We still need more on Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave. There are a number of games, and even stuff for Nintendo Switch 1 like Rhythm Heaven Groove. So there's still that game. So there's still a number of games, and Nintendo still needs to detail a bit more about when we're going to get those when it comes to release dates and all that. Plus, they need to detail what's going to be happening for the summer and also into early fall or so, or even end of the year. So those announcements are going to be made out of Nintendo Direct, in my opinion, more sooner than later. And I think that having this great show with the Indie World Showcase, like I said, they're just getting a lot of this stuff out of the way. Partner Showcase out of the way. I felt that one was good. I know people were upset and angry that it wasn't a regular Nintendo Direct, but I felt that was a pretty good partner showcase with a lot of games that I'm looking forward to playing, like Digimon, for example, or Grand Blue Fantasy Relink. Some great stuff in there. And then this Indie World Showcase comes through, and this is probably the better, or more like one of the better Indie World Showcases that we've gotten in a while. I don't remember the last one that was really, really good. And I think that they did a good job of curating the games to where a lot of the slower paced kind of cozy stuff was in like the montage of games, and a lot of the games that focus on action or adventure or things that would be more presentable, that'd be like, I would say, cooler to look at, those games were really pushed to the forward, even starting out with Densha Attack. So I thought they did a good job with that. And that pacing, I think, helps when it comes to how they pace all their shows, because I do think that it's probably a few people that work on these, and the editing and the pacing is obviously important for many things. But I think that they got all of that out of the way. And now it's time for the general Nintendo Direct, because like I said, they still need to date a number of things. We now know that Pokemon Winds and Waves is going to be 2027, probably first half 2027. I would be shocked if that goes past March, just because usually the Pokemon Company announces a game about a year before it comes out. They did this with Pokemon Legends Arceus. They did this with Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Both of those were announced about 1 year before they dropped. So I'm guessing it's the same thing here. It's going to be sometime in the early first quarter of next year, January, February, March. So with that, Nintendo still needs to date, and they still need to talk about stuff that's going to happen at the end of the year. So I think that there's been a lot of talk about a 3D Mario game that could be happening. The Mario team, the big mainline Koizumi Mario team, not the offshoot when it comes to Donkey Kong Bonanza, they haven't made anything since Super Mario Odyssey. And they might have tested out or did a few different things with 3D World, the Bowser's Fury, but for the most part, they haven't had something big and new to talk about in a long time. And I think they've been working on a new Mario game. Nintendo's always working on the next big 3D Mario game. So I think that could be announced when it comes to that. And then we have the Zelda 40th anniversary, and I think there could be something there. Now, I think it's too early for a new isometric or 2D Zelda game. We already got that with Echoes of Wisdom back in 2024. I think it's too early for a big new 3D Zelda game, because we just got one in 2023 with Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Although I do think that they have, I would say, a game or what they're doing next with Zelda, because they didn't do any DLC for Tears of the Kingdom. So I do think they got working on the next Zelda game fairly quickly after Tears of the Kingdom ended. Back in 2022, they were done. They just had to optimize the game for like another year. But I think they probably got started with the next Zelda game in 2022, 2023. So I think that could probably be revealed within the next year or so. But I don't think they're going to have anything for us here with the Zelda 40th anniversary. Maybe a teaser for something, because they do announce Zelda games kind of early sometimes. But I'm not sure if we're going to have anything for this year when it comes to a new Zelda game. Now, remakes, remasters, re-releases, yes, we could see that. People have talked about a Ocarina of Time remake. I don't know if that's going to be a thing. It might be. It might be. I'm not going to completely rule it out. There's been talk about like the Ocarina of Time, the 3DS game, getting like a HD remaster report. I mean, who knows? But once again, I think a remaster, remake, re-release is something that could definitely happen when it comes to The Legend of Zelda. They can do a double pack with Wind Waker HD, Twilight Princess HD. There are a number of different things that they can do. So I think that we'll probably see something like that, and it could very much be like what they did with the Mario anniversary, where they put a whole Mario segment in the Nintendo Direct. So I think they can do the same thing here, where they take a whole Zelda 40th anniversary segment and put it into the standard Nintendo Direct. So we will see with that. So what do you guys think when it comes to everything that we talked about here with the Indie World Showcase and what happened there? What were your favorite games of the show, and what did you think about what I said when it comes to the Nintendo Direct as well? Let me know in the comment section below. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, click that notification bell, and check out my other Nintendo Switch 2 and RPG videos right here on screen. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you guys for the next one. Peace.